Hello, it's Papa Hector, and welcome to our show. Today's topic is relationships, a sacred relationship, and its common issues. But before we get into that, as always, make sure that you check us out at hectorsalva.com, HECTORSALVA.com, where you can listen to this podcast for free, see free blog articles, get YouTube videos, connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and be able to listen to all of these on your favorite podcast app. So again, go to hectorsalva.com. I have a free newsletter there, and you're really going to want to make sure that you sign up for that and get that master class that's being offered to you and all the other free bonus information. Okay, moving into today's topic, relationships, a sacred one that you may be missing, and issues that come up in sacred relationships. So what is this relationship that I'm talking about? This relationship that I'm talking about is what in a relationship that exists between a spiritual master and their disciple, a guru and their disciple, a sage and their disciple. And unfortunately, this is a relationship that's very much missing in the West. And it's a relationship that has been overtaken and replaced by many other types of relationships that are not comparable. They are not comparable to that which exists between the guru or the spiritual master and their disciple. So really what I want to get into is the issues that often arise for people in this sacred relationship. So the relationship between a spiritual master, a master, and their disciple is extremely unique. It's actually very much one of a kind. And for the disciple, for the person who is the disciple, this can bring about lots of conflict with other individuals in their lives. The reason that this brings about conflict is because other people become scared and fearful, intimidated, and even jealous of the relationship that a disciple and a master share. You see, when you are so blessed to have a true discipleship and a true master, a relationship with a true master, and you're really a disciple, part of what you get is a certain permission, a certain freedom to be who you are, and a certain love that's not based on being used, a love that's not based on need. A master does not need the disciple. He does not need the disciple. He is sharing with the disciple. He is sharing what he is with the disciple. He's sharing what he knows with the disciple. So the relationship is not a relationship based on need. It's not a relationship based on obligation. A master and a disciple, in order for them to be a master and a disciple, must have real love for each other. However, the love of the master, is not based on an obligation. It's just natural. It just flows towards the disciple. And if the disciple is open, the disciple can receive it. And that true love really changes things for the disciple. It gives the disciple courage and strength. Courage to be authentic, strength to be authentic and oneself, and to do what's needed to be done and what they want and need to do for themselves in their lives. And this courage and this strength that comes from having someone who truly understands you, accepts you, and loves you no matter what cannot be replaced by any other relationship. So, a lot of other individuals or relationships that a disciple has with other individuals, these other individuals become afraid. They become jealous. They become intimidated. They become afraid because now their capacity to control you diminishes. Their capacity to control you with loving you or not loving you, accepting you or not accepting you, understanding you or not understanding you diminishes. They become fearful, but they also become extremely jealous. Oftentimes they'll want to get in the way of that relationship, interrupt the relationship, break the relationship apart, or even try to drive the master and the disciple against each other. Try to create problems in the relationship. They become extremely jealous because they don't have this true love that flows through a master to them. And even in their love relationships, even with their husbands, wives, and girlfriends, they don't get that. That love is conditional. That love is obligatory. Obligatory, darling. Obligatory. Okay? Obligated. Even their parents don't love and can't love you the way a master can love you. Even their parents can't accept them or understand you. If you're a disciple, people are going to become very intimidated, but also very jealous. They're going to be jealous of that love. Husbands and wives become jealous. Children become jealous. Parents become jealous. They'll either try to, at times, interject themselves, try to make themselves a barrier in between you and your master, or try to destroy that relationship. They'll try to bring in doubts about that relationship. They'll tell disciples, hey, don't be following someone with blind faith. But when a disciple is true and the master is true, it's not blind faith. The disciple may not know much, but what they know is the master. That's what they know. They know the love of the master. They know the acceptance of the master. They might not know much else, but they know the master. So there's no faith involved at all. It's a knowing. It's a heart to heart. And so a lot of people will become jealous because they can't even get this in their love relationships. Their husbands don't love them this way. Their wives don't love them this way. The way that a master and a disciple love and care for each other, there's no comparison. And so they get intimidated. They become fearful. What if the master takes you away from me? What if the master turns you against me? But they can't understand a relationship, a sacred relationship, that's not based on control. That's not based on trying to change people or obligation. They don't understand a love that free flows, a love that's truly unconditional. And yet they find themselves extremely jealous of it because that's what they're searching for. But always they find themselves searching in places that cannot provide it for them. It cannot be provided for them. A person who doesn't have unconditional love cannot give it to you. You also very unlikely have unconditional love for others. And so you can't give it. And so they become very jealous. They can become scared. They become intimidated. Who is this master that you have? And the same even happens at times between disciples with their master, because they haven't yet truly come to know the master. And so one disciple may try to fight with another disciple, try to interject in the relationship between the master and the disciple. Will try to interrupt. Will become insecure that maybe this other disciple will take their place. But what that says is that you don't know the master yet. For the master, there is only you. There is no places. Places are positions. They're boxes. They're roles. They're labels and traps. And what makes your relationship with the master different is that there's no boxes. That's part of what makes it truly different. There is just you and the master. There is no role, there is no place. And no one can replace you, because you are unique. You are needed. You are you. There is no word for the totality of what you are. But oftentimes when disciples, especially if they're just starting out, or if they're working through issues, they can become jealous of other disciples. They can become to try to interject between other disciples, interrupt in the relationship. They can attempt these things because they have yet to fully, truly come to know their spiritual master. And it is a process. It's a relationship. It's a relationship that grows, and where the disciple is becoming ever more and more open to the master to really get to know what is being shared, what is being given freely. The master doesn't force. So this is part of what people often get scared of. Well, maybe your master is controlling you. Maybe your guru is controlling you. No. A true guru isn't controlling you. In fact, the relationship with your teacher, with your master, with your spiritual master, is one of the only relationships that you'll have that someone is not trying to control you, where it's not a relationship of control or need or obligation, but of just love. And there's many ways which society has tried to replace the relationship with the master. The relationship between the master and the disciple. And it hasn't worked. It doesn't work. And it simply creates a whole new slew of problems for people. People have tried to replace the master with doctors, therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists. These things, which are not even 100 years old yet. Not even 100 years old. These things psychologists, doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, coaches. 40% of clients that I deal with are one of these things. And very often they're coming to me to resolve the same things they can't cure for their patients, which they have themselves. The anxiety, the stress, the depression. People have tried to exchange the relationship with the master with work, with success, with money. Again, things that do not work. Things that cannot replace. And here, they've also tried to exchange this relationship with the idea of soulmates, twin flames, karmic partners, karmic love, and many of these other human relationships that can't replace the true unconditional love that comes. Just like the sun shines, that's the way of the master. It's not that they try to love. It's just that they are love. They are a love. They are loving. They are lovingness. And so many of these false substitutions, these substitutions, just haven't cut it. Just haven't cut it. And it hasn't cut it for anyone. In fact, that's why there's more depression, singleness, sadness, lack of love in the world that there is now today. Because you cannot substitute eggs in a baking recipe. You cannot substitute flour in a baking recipe. You cannot substitute it for ground beef, for meat, and expect a cake. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to come out at the same flavor. And you're not going to have the same experience when you eat it. So, in the world, this essential relationship, this sacred relationship that you need in order to reach for yourself, in order to reach enlightenment yourself, freedom yourself, true freedom, true success, true happiness. They've taken this away. And so people are searching. They're searching for that truth. They're searching for that real stuff, for that true love. And they're not finding it anywhere. But a disciple recognizes. They see it. They can't see it all the time. They might not be able totally to see it. But they just have enough of a picture, enough of a sight, that they start to become open, and they start to receive. And they start to receive that which the master has. And in that, there's a transformation that happens. A huge transformation. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly. The seed becomes the flower. But in that process, where the seed becomes the flower, where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly, if you are the disciple, when you are a disciple, There's going to be many people who are intimidated. There's going to be many people who are jealous. There's going to be many people who want what you have but aren't willing to give what you gave. There's going to be many people that are going to want what you have. They're going to want the benefits and the rewards, but they're not going to want to make the sacrifices or the work to get where you got or what you got. And this is common, even amongst other both false and real disciples who are on the path. Because a master generates fear and nervousness in some, and in others they generate joy and happiness, freedom, that sense that anything is possible. Why? Because those suffering under the veil of ignorance, those suffering in ignorance, those in suffering, many of them are tied and hooked to their suffering, and they're scared. They're scared to let go of it. They're scared, what if I don't get something better? And what is dark fears the light. And so they become fearful. They become anxious, nervous. They may even go against the master in their fear. They may get angry towards the master. They may speak ill of the master. Because their fear, they're trying to protect themselves. But a true disciple, someone who comes with openness, who's willing, who has the will, who says yes to the master, to the true master, they don't have the fear. The fear is replaced with strength. The fear is not overt enough. The joy and the bliss and the freedom, the love, the goodness, the good feeling, the life force, the feeling of life is what dominates for them. And that is worth giving up their ignorance and their suffering. And in this case, I'm talking about lacking knowledge, ignorance. And they're like, yes, give it to me. Give me that freedom. Give me that light. Give me that joy. I'm ready. But again, it's a process. I was blessed to be able to have grown up around masters. I was blessed that I grew up with around 3 masters, which is unheard of. It is unheard of. But it was an absolute miracle for me. And I know that love of my masters, their love for me, their light in me, their understanding, their true acceptance of me, gave me total strength, total courage to be real, be authentic, and to face what needed to be faced, to move without fear. I didn't have blind faith in my masters. I had a total knowing, a total trusting of my masters. I knew, and I know, that no matter what, they were there with me. Even if I couldn't see their body, their love was there with me. And this gave me what was needed to fly, to soar. And anyone who is a true disciple and has met a master and knows a master, they see it, they know it. And when you know it and you know everything that the master brings to you just from their presence of being in your life, then you really know it and really can see it through and through. That protection, that guidance, that strength, that courage, that love, that acceptance, that joy, that celebration and understanding. When you know that and you're a real disciple because you know that, then to a lot of other people, they're going to be a little intimidated. You're going to look a little crazy. You're going to look a little like you're too much. You're going to look intoxicated. But that intoxication is also what they want. But they're going to be fearful. You're going to look intoxicated because you're intoxicated with the divine. You're intoxicated with light, with life. And when you have all those things, and the shackles of controls have fallen off of you, the bondages and the chains have fallen away, and you're free. And any set of handcuffs that they put on you, it just doesn't fit. You may appear a little crazy to them. You may appear like, oh my God, this person is too much. Oh my God, they're going to think, oh my God, like, why? Because they've never had this. They don't know what it is to have experienced that. To really have that true, total, unconditional love, freedom, and acceptance, that understanding, that joy, that celebration and understanding of who they are. They haven't gotten this. They haven't received this. And so they can't understand. They can't fathom it. But one who has and one who is a true disciple is open. One who is a true disciple to the master has received this. And so their whole world has changed. It can be that nothing on the outside has changed. Maybe nothing on the outside has changed. But the whole world has changed for them. It could be that everything in the outside world remains exactly the same. But their whole inside world is something different. It's a happiness. It's a celebration. It's a yes. It's a joy for life. It's the life itself. It's a bliss. No words can contain it. It's a freedom. But again, this is what others are going to want. And so they may be jealous. They may be intimidated. Because at the same time, they still want control. But when someone is clear, they're going to say, I see what you got and I want that too. And they're going to be able to be clear with you. Say, take me where you got that at. Take me where you found that. So I can go find it too. And then the disciple will bring you. The disciple will bring you. If that's you, if you don't have a master, the disciple will bring you to the master. And say, here, this is where I found. This is where I was guided to it. This is where it was given to me. This is where it was shared with me. This is where it became open for me. And then you will have that road opened for you. So, I hope that this podcast has really illuminated for some things for you if you're a disciple, or if you're someone who's looking for a master, or if you're someone who knows a disciple. Any of those things. I hope that this podcast has illuminated and awakened some awareness within you. So, until next time, make sure that you check me out at Hector Salva, HECTORSALVA, V as in victory, A.com, where you can check out this podcast, my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But very importantly, you're going to want to grab free master classes, bonuses, and newsletters that are offered there, as well as get a chance to listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your other favorite podcast apps. So God bless all of you. Keep the faith. Until next time.